Yeah, hi, it's me. Yeah, I got a flat, and I've got a spare, but damned if I have a jack or a tire iron. Can you give me help? Can you help me out? I'm off I-80, 169. You know where that salt plant is just west of the lake? Yeah, I'm on the other side of the ridge from that, about another couple miles. An hour and a half. Okay. Yeah, that'll be fine. Yeah, I've got something I can occupy myself with for that time. Okay, thanks. Bye.
This tube is the most awesome goddamn force in the whole godless world. And woe is us if it ever falls into the hands of the wrong people. TV party tonight! TV party tonight! TV party tonight! TV party tonight! We're gonna have a TV party tonight! Alright! We're gonna have a TV party alright! Tonight! We've got nothing better to do than watch TV and have a couple of brews. Don't talk about anything else. We don't wanna know. We're dedicated to our favorite shows. That's incredible! Hill Street Blues! Dallas! Wednesday! No TV party tonight. Believe it or not, I'm walking on air.
Greetings all, I'm Dubious Khan, and welcome into the Idiot Box, where we take a look at television of the past and present and try to figure out where things went so horribly, horribly wrong. And as you can see, I'm currently stranded out in the middle of nowhere. So, while I'm waiting for help to come fix my car, I think now is probably a good time to share with you what may be my favorite TV series of all time, The Greatest American Hero. Created by legendary producer Stephen J. Cannell, The Greatest American Hero takes the standard superhero tropes and applies them in what was then a new way. How badly would your life be disrupted if you were suddenly told to go out and be a superhero? Originally, Cannell wasn't interested in the project as he found superheroes silly, but upon hitting on the ideas of playing the series for laughs, plus focusing on everyday kind of problems rather than save-the-day type plots, he got to work developing the show for ABC. However, just before the show went into production, the executives at ABC changed, and while the new executive team liked the show just fine, they started insisting on more typical kid-friendly, save-the-world kind of plots. But Cannell stood his ground, and as a result, over the course of the 3 seasons of the show, it has a pretty decent mix of both dealing with the everyday problems and the save-the-world kind of plots. But I think the best way to share the show with you is to look at the beginning. So, let's take a look at the pilot for The Greatest American Hero. So we open in the middle of a National Geographic special. The great Southern California tarantula is truly the king of the desert. This alpha predator knows only one natural enemy, the Southern California dune buggy. The guy in the suit crashes into a large puddle, waterlogging his dune buggy, and his pursuers surround him.
Hey guys, come on, please, man. All I want to do is go back to my car, huh? Look, I don't want any trouble.
Jesus loves you, my friend. That's terrific news.
Onward, Christian soldiers, marching as
You know, I live in Utah, and I speak from experience when I say that even the most devout Mormon missionary would say that this type of conversion is a little extreme.
Anyway, the skinheads start chasing Suit Guy, and then we smash cut to the opening credits. Okay then, moving on I guess. After the credits we meet schoolteacher Ralph Hinckley, played by William Catt. Ralph is in charge of a special class of problem students at the high school. He's idealistic and liberal, but he also has a snarky sense of humor and a temper which thankfully tends to have a long fuse. Usually.
Good morning, teacher.
What do we got here, elimination or main event?
Oh, we was having a discussion about current events.
Yeah.
Sort of a recap on yesterday's class, Mr. H.
Name's Ralph Hinckley, Tony, not Mr. H. Okay?
Who cares, huh? I mean, what cares about you? You're just this month's check and call, Jim. You don't make no difference to me.
Me? I'm gonna do a couple Eddie and the Cruisers movies, maybe Streets of Fire, then when this show gets canceled, I'm gonna fade into obscurity. Ralph announces the entire class is going on a field trip to the desert. Halfway on the trip, the class stops at a diner where Tony gets on the wrong side of another patron, who turns out to be the most awesome FBI agent ever seen on television.
I'm not even kidding. You are about to meet Bill Maxwell, a gung-ho, let's kick the commies right in the nuts, hardcore Reagan-era conservative. And normally this would be the kind of character that I hate. Except that he's played by TV legend Robert Culp.
Robert Culp manages to find the humanity under all the bluster and egotism, and it's that combination that makes Bill Maxwell such a fun character to watch. Even though he's crass, rude, and hopelessly un-PC, he's still portrayed as a good man who genuinely loves his country and wants to use his position as an FBI agent to make the world a better place. It just so happens that his personality keeps getting in the way.
This guy looks like he stole Elliot Ness's wardrobe or something. I don't like the way you look. How about that?
Come on, Tony, let's give this guy the day off, all right?
Hey, what am I, spithead? This guy looks at me like I'm some kind of bug, some kind of nothing bug, a cockroach.
If you're looking for trouble, you've just come across the West Coast distributor.
Oh, I love this. We got a smart mouth on our hands. A fighter.
Now get this guy cooled down, all right?
If you're gonna run around with the monkeys, you gotta remember to bring the cages. It saves trouble up front.
Yeah, come on.
Awesome.
As the class presumably drives back from the field trip after dark, the radio starts flipping out and then the van dies completely. Leaving the kids behind at the van, Ralph heads back looking for a gas station, but winds up nearly being run over by a drunk driver, who turns out to be Bill.
Then the aliens appear. Oh yeah.
You will not be
Harmed.
you
Will. Listen. You. Will.
decide.
Bill? Hello, Bill?
John, is that you?
Bill, I'm in the spaceship. Now, the people here want you and Ralph Hinckley to work for them. They want Mr. Hinckley to accept the gift which contains these unearthly powers.
Unearthly powers?
It's a suit. It will work on Mr. Hinckley, nobody else. There are these instructions. You're supposed to work with him, to tell him what problems that need to be solved. It is up to you whether to accept. If you don't accept, then in 2 weeks the suit will disintegrate.
A suit. I don't need a suit. I got plenty of suits.
I'm coming down, okay?
And it turns out that the voice talking to them is the guy we saw being chased by the skinheads before the credits. And now he looks much worse for wear.
Mr. Hinckley, it's up to you and Bill now. You gotta do this. You gotta take this on. You can change things. Save this planet from destruction.
Who shot you? Who did that to you, John? Are you all right?
I'm dead. Ain't that a laugh? Been dead for 6 hours. The ship picked me up out there afterwards. I'm leaving with them. It's a new life for me.
Well, that's one hell of a retirement plan.
The aliens fly off, Ralph gets the box out of the trunk, Bill justifiably flips out and takes off, leaving Ralph stranded. Ralph takes a look at the instruction book that came with the box and heads back, not noticing when the book drops out of the box onto the ground. Getting back to the van, which suddenly starts working again, gee, I wonder why, the class heads back to the city. Meanwhile, the vice president is about to go on TV.
Well, that'll be fine. I want to talk to the vice president. Looking good, Adam?
I read the speech, Johnson. It's kind of unrelenting.
Now, just don't get cold feet now. This is your chance to correct that weak image people have of you.
Well, it's just that the policies are set by the president, and I think
I had hoped that it wouldn't be necessary to review your career. But if you recall, I got you the vice presidential nomination. I bought it 2 years ago when you were nothing governor from a nowhere state. And now I'm going to put you in the highest office in this nation.
I guess it's just that I'm not a risk taker.
Is the vice president ready?
Is he, Adam?
While the VP addresses the nation, Ralph finally gets home and checks in on his son, Kevin,
who will be quietly and unceremoniously dropped from the series near the end of the first season.
But because it's background for a plot element later, all you need to know is that Ralph's divorced and he and his ex-wife Alicia are in a custody battle over Kevin. And then we get our first look at the suit.
It's a bird. It's a plane. It's Ralph Hinckley.
A word about the suit. When Stephen J. Cannell created the series, he decided a major theme was going to be how being a real-life superhero would utterly destroy every other aspect of your life. To that end, he told costume designer Jean-Pierre Dorlac to design a standard superhero-type outfit and then take it one step further so it looks totally ridiculous. Oh, and I also want to address an ongoing conspiracy theory that's been floating around for years. There's a very vocal online contingent who wants to make the case that the entire show is a metaphor for China saving the US economically, all because the emblem on the suit's chest resembles a character from the Chinese alphabet. In truth, the actual source of the emblem is nothing. It doesn't mean a thing. What happened was Jean-Pierre Dorlac decided there had to be an emblem on the chest, and he grabbed the first thing he had, which was a pair of scissors. So basically, the entire emblem was based off the closed handles of a pair of scissors. There. Conspiracy debunked. Let's move on.
Ralph calls the third member of our band of recurring characters Pam Davidson, played by Connie Selica. Pam is Ralph's attorney and also his girlfriend. She tells Ralph that he has an appointment concerning the custody suit in the judge's chambers at noon the next day.
Think things are going to go smoothly for Ralph? You need to watch more TV.
Arriving at work, Ralph is informed that someone has shown up looking for him, and it turns out to be Bill, who has shown up to apologize. Sort of.
I don't think you're my kind of guy. Nothing personal, just fact of life. All this is kind of an apology for running out on you last night. That's not my style either. Definitely not. So, I apologize.
It's high on my all-time list of favorites. Listen, you gotta go. I got a class.
Oh, wait a minute. Just wait a second. We got a little problem here, you and me. We got this, suit or whatever that we're supposed to, use. Is that the way you read it?
I'm supposed to use. It's a small point, but I think a pertinent one.
Well, what I got here, what you don't got, Mr. Hinckley, is a dead partner. If you will recall, somebody shot him full of holes, which is a definite no-no in my book. That's the same one I mentioned a moment ago, the one I go by. I think I got a way for us to go. First of all, I run the show. You got any problem with that?
Yeah, a little one. Maybe a big one.
Tough. You take your instructions from me, we figure out a best guess scenario on what's going on, work from that. At least until I find whoever was nailed John, okay? Did you read the manual yet, the instructions?
No. I gotta go.
Try on a suit?
Sort of.
What happened?
Well, nothing really. I haven't quite figured out how it's supposed to work yet.
Well, you should have read the instructions first. It's bound to be weird.
Oh, I doubt that. I think that they're as powerful as we've already seen. That would make it fairly simple to use.
What's your address? I'll go over and start reading.
It's not there.
Where is it?
Lost.
Come again?
The suit's in the car. I lost the instruction book.
Come on, kid, don't play around.
It's gone. Disappeared right after you did and before I got back to the van. I mean, it's a long walk. It's almost a mile.
Yeah, really got me a live one here. Oh, boy.
And this is where we get to the heart of the series. It's the constant push and pull between Ralph and Bill as they argue over how to get the job done. Liberal versus conservative. New guard versus old school. And yet, despite all their differences ideologically and whatnot, they do manage to find a way to make things work to both their satisfaction and get the job done. Kind of a lesson we seem to have forgotten in the last few years, isn't it?
In an effort to connect with Tony, Ralph makes good on his promise to spar with Tony for 3 rounds. Unfortunately, the fight and Tony's subsequent conversation with Ralph make him late for his appearance in court. Ralph rushes out of the school but fails to notice a blue van following him. Things go from bad to worse when traffic is blocked.
3 guesses where this is going. Oh. Ouch.
So as Ralph lies unconscious, the guy following him in the blue van snaps some Polaroids.
Yes. Polaroids, kids, were a special type of camera that we used back in the day to take instant photos of things we wanted to see before we had smartphones. And then we used the flash on those cameras to fend off saber-toothed tigers and John Wilkes Booth.
And, of course, the police show up and haul him off to the psych ward at the local hospital. But as he's strapped to a gurney, Ralph suddenly has a vision of 3 guys with guns paying Bill a visit. But the vision fades out just as Pam arrives.
We've got the Lord's work to do.
What on God's earth are you wearing?
But will eventually become one of the most iconic superhero outfits in television history. Why?
Pam reports that the guy taking pictures of Ralph was a private detective in Alicia's employ. Ralph has another vision, and after figuring out that the suit is letting him see what happens to Bill, he takes Pam's car keys and leaves the hospital.
Boy, howdy does he leave the hospital.
Ralph, give me those keys right now. I'm not fooling. If you think I'm going to let you drive off in that suit. At least sit on the cape.
Ralph pulls over when he gets another vision of Bill meeting with the head honcho of the skinheads, who we saw talking earlier to the VP. Who the hell is this guy again?
Well, let's just say I'm somebody you should try very hard to please. Take him to the station.
More little green men?
This place belongs to Nelson Corey.
Oh, no.
Why would one of the richest men in the world want to kidnap Bill Maxwell?
You go in there and you know what's going to happen. You're going to be sent away for so long. When you get out, this suit's going to actually be in style.
Mackey said something terrible was going to happen. He told Bill that we had to accept the responsibility. Pam, I want you to take the car, drive down the road, and wait for me. If I'm not back in 45 minutes, you call the police.
You hit your head. You're not thinking straight.
As Pam reluctantly agrees to help Ralph, he leaps over the wall, discovers that super speed is also part of his power set, and then we cut to see what's happening with Bill.
Your chance to come to grips with your eventual salvation.
You guys are beautiful. You are about as religious as a Las Vegas nightclub.
It won't help you to antagonize us. It'll be all over by 8 tonight. We'll be in control.
Control of what?
The 700 Club, most likely, given the time slot.
What I want to know, Brother William, is how many people know the location of that desert property? How much information you turned over to your superiors?
Go ahead, take your best shot. I've been here with better switch hitters than you.
After a false start, Ralph breaks into the room and rescues Bill, prompting the release of the Kojak Dune Buggy Brigade. But a quick leap over the wall and a timely rescue from Pam allows them to make their escape. When Ralph and Bill butt heads again, Pam gets fed up and forces them to pull over and walks off. So Ralph does the only thing he can to convince her he's telling the truth.
Hold it! No offense, kid. You can make some decisions. What are you doing? Damn!
And if that doesn't convince you, nothing will.
With 4 hours to go until Corey's plan gets initiated, the three regroup at Ralph's and hear a report about the state militia going mobile in L.A., and the president arriving for a helicopter tour of the affected areas.
The president is reported to be arriving for a helicopter tour of the area this evening. Updates on this station as they occur.
I think this business with Gabriel's army is tied to the riots.
Okay, the vice president is here. The president is coming to Los Angeles. Could they be trying to get him here?
Certainly got to be put in the mix.
Have you two noticed how much of Adam Taft we've been seeing on TV lately? It's almost as if someone were trying to redesign his image.
Nelson Corey. He put a whole lot of dough into Taft in the past. Wanted to run him for president. Didn't work out. It's in his eyes-only file at the Bureau.
Are you saying this insanity has something to do with getting Taft in the Oval Office?
Well, we're just running it past the scanner, sweetheart. Trying to find a little radioactivity.
We gotta find a way to warn the president, even if it's a mistake.
Maybe this guy Shackelford. He's running a whole show out here. He has to be in touch with Washington. We cut through a lot of red tape. We took it to him.
Ralph, Bill, and Pam go to Colonel Shackelford, the National Guard officer in charge of the president's visit, who agrees to warn the president, but of course he's in Corey's pocket, and takes them back to Corey's mansion. As soon as they're alone, Ralph gets into costume and uncuffs Bill and Pam, knocking out the light as a cover, and then manages to eavesdrop on Corey and the vice president.
Three now. All right. As soon as he lands, he and his party will be taken prisoner. They'll immediately be loaded back on the aircraft. Colonel Shackelford, you will pilot it out over the ocean. According to plan, you will disable it, bail out, and then we have a brand new president. And somebody else will be in the catbird seat.
And now the ass-kicking commences.
Ta-da! Listen, Bill, I hate to be a critic this late day, but don't you think that plan is a little bit sketchy?
It's sketchy. It stinks. You got a better one? Let's hear it.
Somebody ought to keep the president from landing.
She's got a good point there, Bill.
That's got to be up to you. Buzz him or something, anything.
Buzz him? You mean fly up in that helicopter?
Yeah.
Listen, man, I am Captain Crash. I navigate like I was hit with a can of raid. This suit belongs in the Smithsonian. How am I going to buzz that chopper?
I don't know. I don't have the instructions. No, it's up to you. Take it or leave it.
Somebody's coming.
I don't think you understand. I don't seem to have my sense of balance.
Leave it to Watt, otherwise I'm going to be hooked up with you.
With the president's chopper coming in fast, Ralph grabs a pair of landing lights and takes off, managing to force the pilot to fly away. Ralph comes in for a crash landing and after realizing he's bulletproof, manages to drive Corey back to Bill and taking off as the police arrive to do the mop-up. The next day, the news leads with Corey's arrest and the bizarre reports of a flying man at the scene. Meanwhile, Ralph and Pam meet up with Bill out in the wilderness to figure out where they go from there.
I'm very tired. And quite frankly, I don't know if I want to let you call the shots.
Well, kid, that is abundantly clear to me. But if I'm not supposed to run this show, then why did our friends from the Twilight Zone put me aboard?
Comic relief?
Actually, she's not wrong.
I'm trying to tell you I agree with you. I would have much preferred to be the glory guy, the guy with the magic suit. But it didn't work out that way, so I'm just going to have to settle for being the brains of this outfit. Whoa, wait a minute. Just let me finish, because I've given this thing a lot of thought. Well, more correctly, I've given you a lot of thought. Without getting mushy, I want you to know that when we started this thing, I thought you were just another 25-cent beach boy. But I got a lot of respect for the way you handle yourself in this caper.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Thank you.
You stood in there, you carried your weight, you charged that helicopter, you got the job done. And you made me, I'm telling you, made me feel good. No. Not good. Proud. That maybe it was really true that you and me could mean something here.
Again, Bill Maxwell. Concentrated awesome.
And finally, just to round things off, the aliens reappear with a message of their own.
You have done well. We are satisfied. You should try power of invisible.
Good luck.
Powers of invisibility? What? What? How do you do it? What powers of invisibility? I lost the instruction book.
And he does. But not for another 2 episodes. And yes, it's just as much fun as the pilot.
The Greatest American Hero is a show that works on multiple levels. You have the comedic stuff poking some lighthearted fun at the superhero genre. Then you have the constant clash of ideologies between Ralph and Bill that, as the show goes on, turns into a very real friendship. Ralph doesn't always win all the fights, and neither does Bill. But between the two of them, they manage to find a way to solve the case or save the day, depending on the story. Connie Sellecca makes Pam the voice of reason, who steps in to point the boys in the right direction when their bickering isn't getting them anywhere. The acting is solid, with all 3 leads making their characters entertaining and believable. Now, the visual effects are admittedly kind of hokey, even by early 80s standards, but they only add to the charm of the series. The real-world consequences of being a real superhero are treated logically, without going into depressingly violent territory like recent movies such as Kick-Ass. All in all, a true television classic in all senses of the word.
About 10 years ago, Anchor Bay released the entire series across 3 volumes and a collector's set. However, this version has sadly gone out of print. Fortunately, our friends at Mill Creek picked up the slack, and they've re-released the entire series in 1 volume for about $20, so it's easy to get. If you like superhero comedy with solid acting and really great stories, this is a great series to check out. And who knows, you might end up loving it just as much as I do. I'm Dubious Khan, and I'm gonna go see if I can spot any of that help I asked for a little while ago. Join me next time for another trip into the Idiot Box. What the hell is going on?